going through some stuff the other day and found papers, they
We have a printout for me. Thank you.
2014, when they called us all back together. Because we, and
So many sirens.
well,
today.
they started putting people on the board that, because they didn't have a full one, but they had to at least get 4 to have a quorum.
I've been here all day
To
today.
move the money.
It concerns
So
me.
the
Some
historical
days, so-
society money into the city council because city budget, because you couldn't have, you know. Anyway, that was 14, and then in 15. Started trying to meet, but we only had. Only me and Marcus Orr and Jerry Peterman and James. 4 of us for quorum, but then Jerry had to come off because an elected official can't be on. That left us 3. So anyway, and that was on 14 and 15. 17, Elaine came on. He was really the one that had the foresight to do all of that with the museum and. Thinking the other day, gosh, that was 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago. We've done a lot in the 8 years. 8 years sounds like a long time, but it's not. So.
We'll call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. The Historic Resource Commission is charged with promoting, enhancing, and preserving the character of the historic district as well as landmarks, including the Courthouse Square Historic District. The commission has a quasi-judicial role. The commission hears evidence, determines relevant facts, and then applies the law as it concerns to the exterior changes to or demolition or of any properties as well as new construction in the district. Commission members shall conduct themselves with professionalism and show courtesy to fellow board members, other city representatives, and the public. A board member shall approach disagreements in a positive fashion and refrain from personal criticism of meeting participants and other city representatives. Once the majority of the commission reaches a decision, the minority shall respect and honor the decision. Please remember all public meetings and public hearings are recorded. All comments must be recognized by the chairperson and addressed through the microphone. When speaking to the commission, please stand, speak, and slowly and clearly into the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Please be respectful to others and refrain from disruptions during the meeting and refrain from conversations with others in the audience, as the microphones are very sensitive and can pick up whispers in the back of the room. Please silence all cell phones. Roll call and confirmation of a quorum. Matt Haley.
Present.
Cora Clark Baldwin, present. Karen Chin,
Present.
Lisa Powell. Anthony Brooks. Jeanette Belgic.
Okay, I'm Lisa Kyle Moser. Moser. Kyle is my middle name.
We please rise for the pledge of allegiance of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We could now pause for a moment of silence. The minutes review and approval. We would go back to October 12th, 2022. Were there any corrections found for October 12th, 2022? If there are none, if I could please have a
Ensure you're getting both sets from this meeting or the last meeting and the 12th as well. So
Okay,
there's
so-
2 sets on there.
Yeah, and November 1st, 2022. Thank you, Cameron. Any corrections?
Accept the minutes from the October 12 and November 1 meetings.
A second.
New business, we're going to discuss the historic plaques discussion. Myself and Ms. Chan went out and looked at the buildings to determine who had and who did not have plaques. We did find a few, but not many, that had the plaques already assembled. We also, in returns, after we make a discovery and discussion tonight, we will be asking that this board decides whether or not we want to go before the council to have the $5,000 submitted to us for the purchase of plaques for the buildings that have non-existent plaques at this time. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Chan.
Well, most of you already have a report that looks a little bit like this, a little hard to miss with the yes and the no on it. But Zipporah and I literally walked based on Appendix B that's in their handbook. I did have somebody recently say, well, we don't have anything official. And I said, oh, yes, we do, 2015. So we went by both the building numbers and also the photographs in Appendix B. And what we ended up with was we found that over time, for example, the Vestal Hotel is where Bernie's is now and the soda shop. So over time, the different buildings across and around the square may have a number, but they've had an additional number. Maybe 110 became 110A and 110B. And when I asked how that happens, Cameron explained to me that the tax division does that and it makes sense. So the building may have been one building, but now, and only had at the time, perhaps it was designated as historical. At this point in time, it may have 3 businesses or 2 businesses in it. So that's what you have. And you can see that there are really only 7 structures that actually have, and we went through and actually took photos. The only building that I didn't get a photo of, and then I put them onto a PowerPoint, saved as a JPEG and sent it off to Cameron. So we had a view of what we did have. Was the only photo that was missing on that was the Alamance Arts building, but that you can easily, actually, if you know what you're looking for, you could actually see it from the street. So at this point, there are on my list here, there were about 23 items on the Appendix B that were photographs or items noted. So there were 1 through 25 that don't have plaques. So now in my mind, it's a matter of, do we want to do plaques? Do we want to put them in some kind of an order priority wise? And how to go about this going forward? And do we want to put plaques on all 25 structures or not? So that's something that I think we probably ought to take a look at.
How much did the plaques cost?
I don't know what the plaques cost, but I think in the past about 250 was what was quoted. And the plaques they're about this size, maybe a little bit bigger. And they are every plaque was on the outside, was on the exterior of the building. So one that's real easy to find is right next to the on Reich Drug. That's right there. You can get close to all of them. So if you wanted to use them for a walking tour, just like the Artie the Mouse across around Court Square, these would be really, really easy to identify and find. So in the future, that might be a good thing for some part of the city. I don't know whether that would be Parks and Rec or our commission that would kind of put that together. I think Artie the Mouse was initially started by perhaps the Alamance Arts folks. So that would be a follow-on for that. But with only 7 buildings, the courthouse, the Vestal Hotel, which of course, as I said, was Bernie's on Court Square, the Mont White Building, Reich Drug, Williamson House, which is the Bank of America, the newspaper office on Hardin, and of course, the Alamance Arts House. So there's really only 7 that can actually physically be found, photographed, and touched. So that's the extent of it. So at this point, yeah, we probably need to ask the staff to give us an update on how much money is there. And perhaps maybe on staff, find out how much it would cost per plaque. And just to see how much funding we had, and then perhaps how many plaques with that funding we could purchase. And then I don't know, that might be something that our public works folks could install on the buildings. Anybody have questions? Yeah, Joey?
I have something.
In total
Already, yeah. To the-
I thought it
Yeah.
was 5.
It was,
Yeah,
Some fundraiser or something, so that money was designated,
just for
And I-
that purpose.
allocated back to the.
Right.
For the purpose of the plaque.
during the October 12th meeting, the mayor indicated
thank you.
that $5,000 had been allocated through the Appearance Alliance Committee, and that they have it ready to disperse. But we would have to come and make a plea to the council for the money to be released. And she also asked that if we would go ahead on and have an estimate prepared about getting other plaques, so she would know the actual dollar amount to add to if we needed more than the 5,000. Then that way they would just add that to it if this board decides that that is something we would want to take on. So if we don't take it on, I don't know if she would assign it to someone else to do, but I felt it would be very appropriate for us to do it because it was part of this committee's alliance somehow. And just based off what we've seen, it's a description of the existing, the building business at the time of the plaque. And it just gives a little history, like maybe when it was established, and you have your picture. I have a picture.
They're up on the screen as well right now.
Okay, so yeah, so we see now just kind of, just a brief description there gives us an indication of what we may just want to add. And how would we know what to add? I guess we could also reference the library records. And the mayor also indicated that she has some records of some of the buildings downtown that we could gather some information from. So would need a lot.
I've got some information about building number 2.
2 on the no list.
Yes, ma'am. It was my my grandfather's store from like the 20s until the 60s. And then my parents bought it from my grandparents and put their real estate office in there and subdivided it up into all the other businesses that were in there until a few years back.
Oh, great. Okay. We'll know where to come from.
Jennifer had told me that she was gonna do
Thank you.
something there with
Yeah.
regard to that, but I've not
Thank
heard
you,
anything
Lisa.
further.
And if you have any suggestions of what you would like to see
Absolutely,
there,
yeah,
run it by the board,
absolutely,
you
yeah.
collectively vote on that. We definitely want to be, you
Yes.
know, in alliance with what you're thinking and your family. Good. Anyone else have any other information, anything they want to add?
So if estimating that the plaques cost $250 per se, just throw that out there. You get 20 plaques for the price of 5,000. So, I mean,
Okay.
20 plaques, 3 that are left over. I think you could definitely probably make the case for the extra, how much is that, $750 for the remaining 3. That's if it is 250, just
That's-
based on off what, so I don't know exactly what it may cost to me. I'm sure it's easy just to figure out. I don't know who did these or whatnot, but I mean, $250 maybe on the higher side or lower side. I'm not too sure. So it's just something to figure out. But I think, you know, if we can figure out what these costs, we know we have 23 buildings that we need to get fitted for these, correct? So we know we have $5,000. We know we have 23 buildings. Now we just need to figure out what the price of the plaques cost. And if the price of the plaques exceeds the $5,000, that's when that additional, okay, can we ask
Difference.
council for the additional difference in, you know,
Mhm.
for the remaining three? If it is $250, of course, so I really just don't know. So just something to figure out. So, and I don't think it'd be anything that we could discuss at like the next city council meeting, because it's next Tuesday.
We
So
don't have
maybe in the
time.
time between now and 2 weeks before the next city council meeting, in January.
January.
So the only missing piece would be the actual cost.
Yeah, the estimation of the plaques. And I mean, if you.
So I can
told-
probably get that by next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
But then we still have to draft
Yeah.
what we want to say to the council. So yeah, we'll put it on
correct.
for the next
So it
meeting.
probably won't be until the January meeting
Yes.
until you can
Yes.
actually get the funding. But I mean, of course, you know, it's not a bad time starting the new year. One of the things that I guess we can kind of ride into and kind of itemize and figure out if there's anything else that we may want to work towards after this kind of project, figure out if there's any fundraising stuff or whatever it may be. So I don't know where the money came from or how it was, you know, raised in the past, but I'm definitely probably somebody has some interest or knowledge of it that could guide y'all if y'all wanted to kind of go from there. And I mean, even if say, you know, all 23 of these can cover with 5,000 and you have some change left over, it could be that take the other 7 that already have them out there and maybe get them reprinted or something, right? So, I mean, there's definitely options here. If it does exceed it, then maybe not, but at least everybody will have. a
Well
chance to
said.
look.
Mhm. Thank you, absolutely.
Because most of them are like already attached to the buildings themselves, we probably wouldn't want to try to take anything down. Get something similar, but I don't think that that's necessary because they're in good shape, as you can
Yes, they
see.
were. Yeah.
They're in
they
very
had-
good shape.
Had weathered well.
Just,
Can I ask
So
a que-
whatever that material is, we may want to kind of try to go after that.
yeah, I'm sure I could.
Huh?
It's probably cast bronze.
cast-
Yeah.
That ma- How are you?
How long they've been there.
So is the quote on the estimate on the plaques like based on like one plaque or a small number?
See, I mean, if you said that we need 23
23
plaques,
buildings.
I would think if we said we need 23 and we got $5,000, there's companies in the area that'll do that.
for sure, I think so as well.
Mike?
Like I said, all you have to do is probably, I don't know who does it around here, these plaques, but I mean, send them a picture of this.
There's a few companies in Graham, Burlington, and like the ones that we use with the school system too, that
Oh.
we could call about 2 or 3 of them, get quotes on,
For sure.
go with the best one, not the cheapest one, but one that we got good quality, can do it. I'm feel sure that somebody's going, I mean, that's a lot of plaques. We don't, usually you're only asking for a few at a time,
Mhm,
doing 23. They should be able to come off that number a little
Yeah.
bit to help us out.
for sure. I don't know where these came from.
Mr. Haley, is that something you're saying you could take on, or would you just?
I can call and get quotes on it. I can
Okay.
talk to a couple of people that do most of our
Yeah.
Yeah.
plaques. I just need to know the dimensions and what the material is made out of each one, and maybe I can, if there's where are these located at again? Right, I can take a picture by the right one
Yeah,
to
the
get a
right
better.
one is very easy to get a hold of, and they really are 8 by 10, maybe a little bit bigger, but not much.
I'll take a tape measure and just
Yeah,
measure.
would you do that?
Yep.
That would be
Okay.
great.
So then Mr. Haley will get back with us in our January meeting about the cost estimates. And then we will determine how many buildings, and we're looking at right now 23 buildings. And then we can go to deciding the amount that we would need, if we need any extra to the council. But what he's stating that being that we're ordering maybe a bulk and it's for the city of Graham, we may get a cut, and maybe the $5,000 may be enough, but if not, the mayor has indicated that there would be monies possibly available to allocate to this project. So-
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the timing process, because if it's not proposed, I guess, until our January meeting, then it's a week turnaround to get to the council and they already have all the agenda and stuff sent out. So I don't know if we could get it on the agenda and then get all the stuff at January and then kind of make sure that all, or just take care of it now and get all, because the only thing we need is the cost price of getting the 23 plaques made, right? I don't think
For now.
there's anything that you need to have an executive decision on. It's just, we have here the cost of what it's going to do to print out all 23 of these.
Absolutely.
Bring it to city council at the January meeting
That
and
would be great.
talk about it there. I don't know if it necessarily needs to wait until our January meeting, because then it might be too late, right?
Well, no, I thought we just decided that it would be January because it would take up maybe a week. But if Mr. Haley can get the numbers back
Before
me,
January. Yeah.
before their next council meeting, I'll be more than happy to. The next week, January,
Yeah.
yeah, so
So
that's
it's the second Tuesday in January.
right. Right.
Are those things raised on that or is that?
They're probably.
It's a little
no more than
embossed.
half
It's
inch,
raised a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
half inch deep.
and they're really nice. I mean, it's really good material, obviously. So we're looking at the second Tuesday in January to be able to go to the council. So Mr. Haley, if you would get back with me and I can come up with something, give it to Cameron. And then Cameron,
You want me to just email both of you when I get? this?
that'll be good. And then I'll go to the council. Second Tuesday.
You'll
in
have a
January.
better idea of what to describe to someone on the phone if you can get your fingers on top of the.
Yeah, I'll go by.
Of the right-
I'll go
right
by
problem,
So give
and-
me an excuse to go by. So.
Yeah.
Get your fresh lemonade.
Yeah.
And that was mentioned also, but I don't know how to prioritize and Jeanette. Maybe someone else, but Jeanette, maybe you would have an idea of
That
which
skills would
buildings.
be good on that.
If you want to come up with that and we will rely solely on that because I know the downtown.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable
So-
with it.
So there's 23. We know
Mhm.
we've got taken the 250 figure. We'll just grab it. We only need 3. I mean, we can print all of them but 3. So
Well, figuratively
Well-
speaking, that's just on
Yeah.
the estimate that with what
Yeah.
Ms. Karen said,
That's
that
right.
it was $250 a
We don't
plaque.
know,
but
how
We don't know how much it costs. So real,
choose more.
we can have a donut sale or something to pay for the last
Right.
3. I mean, 3 is. I,
And
and,
let-
and I think the company, whoever we go with, will
Mhm.
probably throw in 3 more. I was just trying to see Graham Historic District Commission. I'm trying to remember when these went up because the historic resources. The district was formed in 81 or 91, which was it?
I
We
couldn't
talked
tell you.
about this already one time. Um, I want to say 91, but for some reason it takes me back to 81 or 83. So I was trying to think why it says Historic District Commission. Instead of Historic Resources Commission. Anyway, I'll look at the priority, but I think we'll probably get them all done between either whoever does. the
How many
plaques will do
buildings are there
23
total?
For 5,000 or
23.
It's 23 buildings total.
can't,
Okay.
council will give us
Okay,
750 more.
okay. Mhm. So I think like Mr. Haley said, they will probably work with us, crunch some numbers, and then if not, we definitely have the money that's been stated would be readily available to us. I don't think we're gonna have a problem with it. It's just a matter of when we would want to try to install them, probably about the spring, when the weather is better. And let the new owners or renters know that, we'll be around your building, between this time and this date, in order to get some these things established, then, I mean, installed, then we would also have to have the council to direct us to who would be doing the work. Public Works. Okay, okay. He may do it. Yeah,
I did talk to a couple of business owners and the folks at Hi-Fi Records. And because I went to say, is there a historical plaque here that I can't see because I'm not looking in the right place? And they said, no, are we going to get one? And I explained what we were planning on. And they were real excited. They thought that was really, really good. So I think it'll be well received by folks in the downtown area.
I think even if we, I mean, we can't get it done for $5,000. I think when we go to the council, that this is a project that'll enhance downtown, that
Like Mayor
I think they'd be inclined to give us the
That's right.
funds.
The difference. Yeah.
But I'll do my best to negotiate a good fair
Thank
price.
you. Thank you, man.
So we have it kind of, I guess, pathed out. So Mr. Haley, I appreciate you doing that as well.
Mhm.
So he'll get the estimates for us, get it sent over to Miss Cherzapor, Clark Baldwin and myself, get it on January council's agenda, and then wait in here and see if they give us the funds. Well, I guess release the funds for us to use, and then we'll go about figuring out, okay, how are we gonna place these and all. So I think the biggest thing is getting the estimate so we know what all can be done, and hopefully they all can be. So that's all that I got.
In the meantime, I think, I'll go ahead and see if we can maybe draft up some verbiage for each of the
Yeah.
locations between Lisa and Jeanette and folks here in the area to get input on that. We draft up something, then we, at least if we've got the funding and then we actually have a source and somebody ready to do that, then we won't be having to wait around to tune up the text that would go on each of the plaques.
One.
and if there's anyone else here in Graham that you guys may think we want to reach out to regarding the history of the buildings, let us know. There are some people that are around that has just a wealth of knowledge. So, yeah, so, I think we'll do a good job. Any other discussion? If there's no other changes or any other discussion, we'll move to the next item. The facade grant applications was brought to the board that by City Council, Mr. Parson, the concern with applicants when completing the applications, the complication, and seeing if we could be able to make the applications easier to complete, more people friendly. And there were some things that we were concerned about not being able to change just because once the application is filed, there is certain information that needs to be remain on that. I don't know if anyone's had any time to give it any thought or not. But some of the information that they were asking to change, I don't think, because they're, okay, like one of the complaints from my memory was about the, if you have a sign, then the dimensions and the footage, and if it's involved, what's the materials and things of this nature. So I think that information is needed to go on the application as well as on the proposal. That way, if they are ever kind of detached from one another, I don't know how they're filed, but it also makes it easier when it's coming before the board, so we can just see, okay, is there pre-existing? Is there something pre-existing using the same materials, the same size, the same footage that we could go by? But it then makes the owner or the renter of the property aware that
okay, I'm out of compliance. They didn't just turn me down. There was a reason why.
Hmm.
And it's part of my application. And when the applications are not complete, it makes it harder for, say, for Cameron, when it comes to him, to be able to determine if it's something he can go ahead on and approve as a minor, as opposed to sending it to the board as a major. So most of the information that I've seen is adequate, and I think it needs to remain. I don't know if it's the order in which the information is being asked, and if you go through that, it looks pretty standard. I looked at an application from Orange County, and it is much more complicated. And Wake County. This is really kind of condensed to some of the applications out there, and I don't know if they've changed it since I looked at it, but some of the ones I've seen are a lot more information is being required. So if anybody can look at it that's familiar and used to working with this type of stuff, I mean, let's hack it out. But I don't know anything that we could do. Joel, when they came to the board, was there anything specifically that you remember?
Like you were saying, when that was first, that knowledge about it, it was just the technical part of the side. That it, I think Cameron, you know, for the sign ordinance, that kind of supersedes anything that you guys do. It doesn't pass ordinance.
Right.
It doesn't have it historically looks correct or not.
Right.
So it's kind of I think people know in the square, especially when it's not just the square footage. Because you gotta be
Some of it is-
small, I think that's where she said people don't know what to put on the application. They don't have a bigger, not uniform, just like, you know, like the one that, I mean, people that you want to or, and then
Bakery,
Bakery
they're not square.
or not.
right? They're kind of rounded in some places.
The thing about it though is, I mean, I've done multiple signs for our businesses, and we just call down here and y'all tell us. It's not, I think it was made more complicated than anything. That's, the
Right.
process is pretty simple to get a sign. I mean, I've not had any problem with any of the permits or anything from the town. It's sometimes just picking up the phone and calling.
Yeah.
And asking a question to make sure you're in compliance before you just order something.
Mhm.
I don't see it, the process being complicated at all. I think it's pretty pretty easy.
Yeah,
And-
I think so.
And compared to
agree.
other areas and
It should be.
other cities like this, I mean, working with the city of Graham is it's 100 times easier
Easier.
than working with some of the other places.
We've been doing these grants for 15, maybe going on 20 years, and we've never had a shortage of applications. So I don't think it's just that impossible to fill one out.
I agree.
So, and if you're smart enough to own a business, then you should be smart enough to fill
Yeah,
out this
I agree.
I'll,
application, especially since, like you said,
It's less-
Raleigh, Chapel Hill,
less
Hillsborough,
complicated.
look at their applications. So
Yeah,
I don't want to see us dumbing down,
right.
and that might not be the right term, but still, this application more than it is.
Rest of it, yeah.
So,
And yeah, and then the information, if we kind of condense it, then what are we condensing it to? I mean, I don't see anything on here. And when you're talking about a sign, that we could just implement if the person giving the proposal can indicate on the proposal that it's the exact same material, size, dimensions of an existing sign. And if the council agrees that that would be enough for them to go off of, because that's what they kept doing. They kept making comparisons to other signs, existing as signs. So maybe that's one of the things they could maybe consider, but we still would need the dimensions there just to make certain. Because my sign can look like your sign, but there can be some difference in my sign.
yeah, and I'll interject just for a second, because I think one of the, the main things that was brought up was, when people are coming for these grants, right? The concern was that they didn't want to put I guess, the effort or money into getting the sign designed by a sign company or what it may be. And in that regard, I could argue the fact that, you know, the facade grant, business beautification grants are all based on proposed projects. So it's work that is going to be completed within, you know, a year's time. So you're going to have to put the time and effort and money into developing the sign plans because I'm gonna have to review them regardless as part of the sign permit process, right? So that's just how I saw it, but I can see how it could be a concern because, you know, the other argument was, okay, we're just gonna bring to y'all, this is what it looks like. We're gonna tell you it's not gonna exceed 8 square feet, which is what's required out there. And I think that's where they were kind of thinking of is like, that should be enough to satisfy the need for a COA approval. And so, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I brought both of these up is, you know, both, not just the facade grant application, but the COA application as well, just so you could get a view of, okay, this is what the applicant has to fill out. And this COA is what has to accompany it and get approved before they could be considered for the facade grant application. And that's where we ran into the issues last time was they didn't get their COA approval, so they couldn't get their facade grant application heard. So we had to extend it.
That's their
That's their
responsibility.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
That's theirs.
Yeah, we just,
Um,
go ahead, Janet. Sorry.
I've lost my train of thought. What if, two things, what if we did, okay, this year we had enough money because she went to the, city council said we only need another 100 or whatever it was to be able to meet everybody's, facade grant application, and we got it. What if we've got $100,000? We'll just pull numbers out of the air of facade grants out here to be asked for, and we only still have the 15. So now we're back to, and we've all done this. If you've been on the appearance commission or you've been sitting here long enough, we've all had to do that. You're talking about prioritizing these signs, these plaques, prioritizing these facade grants. So there's going to be people who do not get any money. And that has happened in here.
Yeah.
So they need to understand these applications
Guaranteed.
are not guaranteed, but also very important. They can't just say, oh, yeah, that's like you said, that's the size of the sign and not know for sure, because I'm not going to vote for that. The second thing that I would like to bring up is, and this has bothered me for years. Why are we giving facade grant money for signs when that business goes out of business, they're going to take that sign with them and there went our money. It's not like we're giving doors or new windows or awnings or anything that's going to stay with that building, no matter who is in that business, a dress shop, a bakery, or whatever. That sign's going with that business to the next town or wherever they decide they're going next. And we've paid for it, or we have at least paid for part of it. And I do not agree with the fact we're paying for signs
Yes,
or
ma'am.
anything they're going to take with them.
And I can piggyback on that a little bit, Jeanette, because my thoughts were also, if we give facade grant money for signs and things that can be taken with them, I think they would have to be responsible back to this committee to be in existence for X amount of years. And if they fail to be in existence for
Right.
X amount of years, then that money needs to come back to
Come
us.
back to
At
us.
some percentage,
yes,
or not
just like-
100%, but if, I'm going for 100, but if that's not logical, then some percent of that money should come back to us.
Yeah.
Right.
I really don't know what that would look like in regards to like finance standpoint of how they reimburse the city back.
I've seen it.
Well, do you do it when we give incentives to businesses? If they're not in business for so long, they have to give us back
Yeah.
money, because we've invested tax money and other stuff into the businesses that are being built right out
For sure.
here in the business park. So I don't think that's unreasonable,
For
but
sure.
I mean, I know we'll have to go before council to have that put into the facade grant and stuff, but why is that not reasonable? I mean, this is money that we're not necessarily going to get every year. So, you know, while we've got it, I think we need to be very responsible with it, and it needs to stay here in town and not be a sign that's going to go wherever they're
Exactly.
going.
Absolutely.
Because they didn't
Another
make it here.
option
Very good.
is, I mean, on the facade grant application, it specifically lists, you know, all the stuff that can be applied for. You know, if it's such a, you know, a bearing thing that we don't really want to take in signs anymore, we could always just remove it off the list of improvements that could be accepted for the facade
Right.
grant application.
And that's one of the
And easy,
recommendations that
Mhm.
I think we should make
Mhm.
as a board,
I
that
do
it just be
too.
removed, and that, I mean, when I go open a business, I'm gonna have some way of marketing, and I know my sign would probably be one of my first ideas when I open my business, how I want it to look. What is my logo, that kind of thing. So that should be on the business owner side.
But at the same time, we're making our downtown look much better when we support these businesses by doing that. And not all businesses just up and take stuff. Sometimes landlords change, their leases up. There's things that remove a business from a community that are completely out of their control. But like if you go downtown and look at some of those signs that are up there for $3,000 and $4,000, one of the reasons they're up there and they look so nice is because they were able to come before us and get that money. That cool corner around there where things above is and the widths and stuff, those signs are nice. And when you drive through there, it's aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And that's what our committee is about just as much as anything. And it's not like they're getting up and just robbing us of sign money. I mean, they put in 50% of it and it makes the downtown look good. It's just like when a business changes and stuff. Yes, the storefront's going to change, but right now the area looks really nice. And one of the reasons it looks nice is because people have access to be able to do that.
And I,
Go ahead. I don't think that this committee is not here for business
cosmetic.
encouragement or whatever.
We're
We're
not.
here
Hmm.
because of the historic district
What do you mean?
and to keep the signs historically accurate. No neon except for Sutton's because they have been grandfathered in. So
The reason we have a nice downtown is because of businesses. That's the only reason we have nice aesthetics downtown is because the businesses invest down there.
I will tell you, the Historic Resource Commission's charge is, you know, they were charged with promoting, enhancing, and preserving the character of the historic district as well as landmarks, including the Courthouse Square Historic District. So you can interpret that however you may be, but the preservation aspect could, to Mr. Haley's point, be, you know, making sure that these businesses have adequate signage and they're up and looking nice. So, I mean, at some point, yeah, I guess.
And we want to
How-
preserve the historic district, but preserving the historic district does not necessarily mean that we have to an enhancement is part of that. But enhancing may not necessarily mean a fancy sign. It may mean that you need brick and mortar to keep the building together, or you may need a new door or window panes to be more, you know, efficient with your heating and air. But again, with the signs, I'm not saying don't do signs, but I'm saying if we do them, make it come with some type of commitment.
Yeah.
And I know you can't always say, oh, I'm going to be in business for 10 years, but you need to sign on knowing that if you're not in business for how many ever years that we decide, if we decide to say that you must have this sign or for X amount of years. If not, then we're going to be expecting X amount of dollars back. And if that's upfront and they still want to apply for the facade grant, then we would still put it in an order and a prioritizing. And then if they are chosen, if their need is greater than someone else's need, and that's the way I think we should start looking at this, not because we know the business owner or, you know, who they are, but we need to look at what is the actual need here. Is this a need or a want? And facade grant, if you look at facade grant, it's really not for a lot of beautification. It's more or less to make sure that our like
Preservation of the building.
preservation of the
and
building.
downtown.
And if you look at Elm Street, and I don't, that one that I kept getting a little weary about, the house on the end.
Oh, the Trollinger Hotel. Yeah.
Right. Now, that to me is something that we have kind of dropped the ball. I don't know what happened with the owner. He came, he wanted to park a lot or something. We turned him down. He said, can you get a buyer? But if he was to come, and I know we can't offer him anywhere near the money he would need, but something of that caliber, you know, if we could help some way, even if there's a demolition and there are some pieces that need to be taken to preserve or something that could help. I don't know, but signs to me is just not what facade grant says.
Me neither.
Now,
Yeah.
so, and we can read it individually and collectively come up with something. But as far as a sign, yeah, downtown looks good and we want to welcome business owners. We want to enhance the growth downtown, but we also want to look at what we're doing.
Okay.
And money is not as free as it has been. So we need to buckle down just like everyone else is buckling down. And prices is going up on everything. And I think we have the most moderate rent for businesses. If they were to go to another city again, and I hate to keep pointing out, but you take that same business downtown Franklin Street, Chapel Hill, you would be in a shock. So I think just by us being able to have a more comfortable rent with our small town, because we're still not one of the largest towns, we have to consider what we're doing with this facade grant money. And-
So the last, I'm not gonna say anything after, I'll shut up after this. The businesses don't own the buildings downtown. So when they're coming here and they're spending money out of their pocket, they're not coming down here to enhance the building. They're coming down here to enhance their business.
Well, if they
So
were in
I-
a
so-
mall,
So if I'm a business owner, I'm not coming to apply for a facade grant that's not going to improve my business. So if you take the signs out of that or put stipulations on it, you're going to have fewer people come apply. If you look at all the grants that we had, they all had upgrading their business type aesthetics, like signs, awnings, things like that. Those are not structural things to the building. So the people that are coming in here asking for this money don't own the building.
and
Just like
that,
you said, one person or 3 people own most of the buildings downtown. So
right.
that's not like they're coming in here to get 15 facade grants. So as a business owner, I'm
And I
not going to
understand-
come in here trying to upgrade the building. I'm going to try to do something that makes my business more prosperous.
And more appealing.
And more
more appealing.
appealing, and I get that, and they don't own the buildings. And just as they was at South Point Mall or Alamance Crossing, they don't own the building. Belt Leggett is Belt Leggett. I don't even know if they have Leggett anymore, but Belk is Belk, and Belk comes in and they have their sign. Alamance Crossing is not paying for their sign.
Yeah, but they give them a heck of
They
a deal
give-
to come
but-
down there and be a business.
And we give them a heck of a deal to come down here. I think, my personal opinion, with the low rent and the moderate rent, I wouldn't say low, because I don't know exactly what it is to go rent a
Comparable
place.
to
But
around that county.
so I just again,
This is not an expensive county, let's face it.
it's not. And we want downtown to look good. And maybe we could trim back on, maybe we could trim back on what we would allow for a sign, what percentage we would give for signs. Maybe we don't do the whole 5,000 for the sign, but maybe we could say, well, you know, we can do 10% of your signage, you know, or something like that. But
Yeah.
we have to kind of trim it down to the fat so we can get some of the stuff done that still needs to be done. There's some businesses that maybe they need heating and air. To me, that would,
That doesn't come into it.
Yeah, because it's all strictly in regards to the facade.
right,
So
that
that's the
wouldn't come
front.
into it, but someone may come in front of us, what I was saying, they may come in front of us and not understand the difference. So we really need to have on the application, I think, what a facade grant is.
Well,
and
it
give us
mentions,
A brief description, and then say, if your business meet these needs.
Tells us what it means. What we apply for.
What is a facade right there?
yeah, I was gonna note, I mean, on the front, it mentions what is a facade? One side of a building, regardless of number of stories, considered facade. So it's all exterior aspects.
Exterior.
provides matching funds for exterior improvements to historical non-residential structures and design, provide incentive funds to property owners in the historic district to encourage rehabilitation downtown, beautification of the historic district and its importance to the history of Graham and its residents. And
Beautification as it is to the history of Graham. And again, and I know it's an argument that could go on forever,
you could,
a discussion, so we're not gonna take a lot of more time with this, but I respect what Mr. Haley is saying, and I respect what Ms. Belger has said, and I respect what I'm saying and other people that's already commented. But the beautification of the bill is not talking about cosmetic. To me, a sign is cosmetic. And I want to enhance businesses. I want businesses to come to downtown Graham, but at the same time, I don't want them to say, oh yeah, if you want a sign, you can go down there to the historic. And I heard that conversation and I was like blown away, like go down to the historic resource and just get the money for your sign. And I thought, really?
I will say this, my last point at least is, in regards to the last facade grant applications we had what, 3, 4,
Three.
5 people applying, which used up all the money. And to somebody's point that made it earlier, there could be a time when we have 10, 20 applicants, whereas, as you mentioned, Chair Clark Ballwood, it was, we like your idea, we're only gonna give you 10% of it because other things take priority over it, right?
Right.
So, I mean, and that could even possibly be said, you don't have to
Done
spend
that
all of
too.
your money either. I
Giving
mean,
everybody some
Something.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some money.
Some money.
But I
not-
just think maybe if we can do a category. And in that category, maybe we mention percentages of what's given for that category. Then maybe across the board, it would make it, because I don't want one business owner to say, well, they got the sign, but that was grandfathered in, that's something we did, but we're no longer doing 100%. Or even offering applications for 100% for a sign.
We can't do but 50% of any of the projects, up to 50%, because they have to.
But I think maybe our 50% is too much. That's what I'm saying. I think maybe we can do 10%. I'm just.
Well, and 50%.
I'm not saying it's too much. I'm just saying for any project, we can say up to 50%. If we say this is $1,000 sign, we're going to give you $200. We can do that as a committee. We don't have to have some kind of change in the facade grant program. That's up for us to decide when we rank them. Last time, it just worked out that we had all the money and could say here, but the last time I don't think everybody was on the committee when we had like a bunch of them, we had to look through and say, well, we can only give this
Yeah,
much
I'm
to
on
this,
there.
this one and this one, these two here, we're not going to give, but 30% of them
Right.
on it. So.
Well, maybe if we put it on there, what percentage we're going to give, it may cut back the number of applications for signs. And may help allow the money to remain open for people with a greater need. If it's possible, but then if not, if we don't have any other applications. And those are the only ones sitting there, we would still go back to our percentage that we agreed upon. And it's just something for thought. I know we can't make a decision tonight because there's a lot of, different aspects that we're looking at it and all of them are respected. And I do hear that. And I do understand what you're saying. We do want the downtown to look good. If we could get it uniform where everybody had the same type of sign would be great, but not all businesses run that way anywhere. So everybody's logo and signs are all different based on the owner of the business or the building but I think we should just consider just looking at the words that's there and applying our applications to being able to stand within those standards.
The funding, the funding guideline there, I think planning that it's 50/50 and it's kind of up to the discretion.
It's up to us.
Commission to determine what funding goes to what.
Right.
I mean, you play devil's advocate, say I'm moving to a business, I don't like awning. It's not, if you don't get the pay for an awning, then I don't like the awning. I can take it down. I don't like
Yeah,
the color- I don't like the color of the paint. I want to repaint the building. So you can play devil's advocate, that anything that's done can be undone with the
Court case, and that's a good point.
That's a good point.
If it's that, you know, the structural damage or something like that, it's not gonna be, but a lot of this is repainting, you know, exterior lighting, all that can be changed from a tenant to tenant if they don't like what's there, so. I mean, you play devil's
Right.
advocate, a lot
But
of
it's-
stuff is not-
With the awnings,
But with the signs, if the business doesn't last, the signs are going to go. That's a given. And that's money that we just let walk away from the town. So that's what bothers me about the signs.
I see,
So-
I get your point.
Mhm.
now, as far as the awnings, you brought up something else now, you got me wondering. Okay, so we just did a lot of awnings. Now, there are 3 in a row over here by the newspaper, and they look very good. Now, if you're saying that if a business moves, so the awnings can't be not named, but it can't be redone like with the business.
Not part of the structure of the building.
No, it's not, no, I'm saying, okay, so if we invest in an awning with the facade grant or any other, okay, so if I have Clark's Repair on there and you come in and you want Parsons Electric, a whole awning has to be replaced
No,
or just the
they'll just-
lettering?
I think what he was getting at was they might not.
But they may not want to awning that, but no, I said he just prompted me to another
But
Another
because
cost.
it's attached to the building, it is part of the building.
building, right?
So
But yes, if you're taking because I mean, if the name's on it,
Yeah.
you ain't gonna be able to get the name on it without removing the whole fabric, right? So they'd have to
So you
remove
have
the
to
whole
redo
fabric
the
and
whole-
put another fabric on it, which in return, they could come up here and ask for facade grant funding for a new. Of course, they have to meet the COA
Fine.
guidelines,
Yeah,
but
that's
But the awning,
I'll,
the awning being attached to the building belongs to the building's owner. So if you rent, it's kind of a non,
yeah, we're getting into some
Yeah.
deep
No,
waters
no, no,
here.
I was just wondering like, as far as money,
Yeah.
when he says just playing devil's advocate,
And we could sit here and play devil's advocate with each
but
other.
we're
all
not.
day, I promise you.
But we're not.
I mean, and at the end of the day, you know, a lot of what is written out is all based upon interpretation, right? So, I mean, one person could look at it one way and think one thing, and the other person could look at it the other way and think it another way. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
and that's why we got 7 of y'all up here, right?
Yeah.
Because 7
We do.
like-minded individuals for a common cause that could bring up different opinions to some of this stuff. And that's how we get stuff moving forward. But I think the overall, you know, scope of what this discussion started off with was, do we need to make changes to
Okay,
the
and
facade grant?
let me ask you
application?
this, so if this board votes tonight that we would want to put a percentage and a stipulation on facade grant monies going towards signs,
Mhm.
do we have to go before the council or does this board decide that?
I think first you'd have to make sure that everybody was on board to do that.
I said,
right?
if this board decides, the
Yeah.
board decides
we
tonight,
need to make a motion.
we need to make a motion, that's where I'm going.
And
I don't-
I think we need to make a
Or-
motion for a vote.
A vote to change the signage stipulations on here.
Yeah, to add a stipulation. And see where we are, because,
Well, I would rather see us have maybe a committee instead of, cause I kind of like if you don't stay in business for how long, you have to give us back money. Because that sign, I don't want a sign that says XYZ Realty. Let it go, but let us have our money back to give to ABC Realty or
Okay.
whatever. So I think I would rather
I like
see
that.
some kind of return on our money if they don't stay, but.
so what
a
I'm
year
hearing from
or
Ms.
2 years
Foldry
or
is
3
that
years.
maybe we proposed, that we can go and get a motion that we propose that, the signage have a stipulation on a number of years that they must remain in business, or if not, then we are going to be expecting X amount of monies back. Okay, Mr.
Oh, I
Parson?
understand it, but who's gonna enforce and get that money back? We're going bankrupt and not in business anymore, but they didn't have money. Give you back. Who's gonna?
Well, that's true, too.
True, yeah, that's true. That's true.
just lost their business and now we want money for the.
And that's,
And we want money from them bleeding them dry.
But-
Get back here.
I don't know how you're gonna enforce that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's just a thought, and like you said, we won't spend a lot of time on it,
Yeah.
but everybody's point has been,
You have the authority in the funding
That's right.
to determine. how much
50,
you-
50 up,
much?
that's right.
and,
yeah.
or how much, it doesn't have to be 50-50.
If that
so
wasn't there,
We'll just leave it
and you
there.
don't have to fund it at all either. I mean,
that's right. We don't have to fund it at all.
Can be
They
up
come
to
back and say
50,
next
not
year,
necessarily
We're not
50.
doing any signs.
Right.
So, you know, but when the meeting starts, we make a motion, we're not going to fund any signs. Of course, there'll be a lot of hoo-ha going on out here in the.
That's fine.
So don't we have to
audience,
follow the
but
matrix?
So,
scoring
So if we
matrix.
have a lot of, what she's saying, if we have a lot of applications and there are things that have, we have to prioritize.
Yeah, I don't know if it's anything that you could like come out in the meeting before people are here for facade grant applications, say, okay, you submitted all this, but we're not gonna look at any signage, right? So they submit it and you have your score matrix. And all of your information is based off what's scored on the score matrix. And you don't think the sign is worthy applicant for the facade grant application, and you just put 0% on it.
Yeah.
So you all still
Point
have
taken.
that jurisdiction
Right.
to, or authority to disperse these funds as you wish, but I mean, you could say we're not gonna fund signs without saying we're not gonna.
No, we don't have to say that. We know how.
Because it says on here, I mean, you know, replacements, sign replacements, right? So I mean, it could be if somebody comes in here, business has been here for 20, 25 years and they want to get a new sign. Are you holding that same standard to the folks that have been in business for a long time that want to upgrade their sign? I don't know. So that's something else to take into account.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, yeah. Okay, so, any other discussion? Anything else? Okay, if there's nothing else, then, we have a COA discussion.
Yeah,
Moving down.
and it's, sorry, kind of along the same lines. I applied, or, I mean, I supplied you all with the application for COA, and of course, it's back to the discussion of, is this easy enough for the applicant to fill out and give to me and approve, right? Or bring to y'all and approve. I think the other big cause for concern, I hate to bring this word back up, but signs again was one of the things that was the topic of, you know, what do I need when I'm supplying a COA for a sign? And I'd said multiple times that on the back of the COA or the second page has the 3 requirements for COA sign applications, which is the colored elevations, large scale drawing, and physical samples of all materials. So I just want to supply that to you all, and if you've looked over it and want to make any changes to it, then be my guest. But this is what we've been working with for I don't know how long, but
Well, Cameron, with your expertise working with the applications more closely, after you review the application, do you have any recommendations that we could go off of or start with, or?
not really.
'Cause I don't know.
As I just,
This is
because
pretty good.
all of this is, you know, I don't want to say police, but enforced by you all. So these are the requirements to get a COA. I just follow the guidelines that have been set by the previous historic resource commissions to supply these applications right here. So I don't have any room to provide any opinion because
Mhm.
I'm an objective position here where I just go by what's in the book and what's in front of me application wise. And that's how I've held the standard for it. Sometimes it's like, it says right here, you need this, this, and this.
Mhm.
That's exactly what I'm gonna need
And
from.
do you get a lot of feedback when, like,
Don't-
when they turn the application in, do they come to you or? to-
Yeah, so I mean, I talked to them. They have to submit the applications to me, of course. They provide all the information that's required for signs for any type of major or minor work. If it's all minor work, I review it and approve it as minor. If it's major, I review it, put it in the agenda and present it to you all.
Now, when you're going over the application, has there been any time when you're going over the application, you was like, I should have this here? Or if this was moved up here, or
Not really. I don't,
reproportioning the application, anything like that ever come to your mind when you are dealing with them?
not
Or
really.
God, I need one more blank over here so I can put this here.
Are they just getting confused that they think they need some like fancy drawing
Right.
for the sign? Is that what
Yes.
the issue is? Cause you just need a rendering of the sign. right?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to use examples, but I mean, for the ones that we saw for the facade grant application the first time, it was a picture of the building with a copy and pasted image of the sign on
And
top of
sign.
it, and it was just flat on the building, but, oh, it's actually a projecting sign, right? So what I need is basically a sheet of paper that shows this is the building.
Yeah.
This is the sign, this is how tall it is, this is how wide it is, this is how far it comes off the building, this is how far it is from the ground.
Mhm.
And so, and it says that all right here is, you know,
In the
colored
general
elevation, drawn to
description.
scale, dimensions.
I mean, it's right there on the packet. That's
Why
what
can the
I'm saying.
sign company not do that for them?
Well, the sign company does do it for them, but the argument was that they, well, at least for the facade grant application or the COA is, you know, they don't want to put the money into it if, you know,
If they're not gonna go with them, or
yeah.
if it's not gonna be accepted, but that's what a proposal is, an estimate.
And if you're
Only
gonna
if you
do
have
the
an
work,
estimate.
you're
Right.
gonna supply the information, because I'm gonna need all this information for a sign permit regardless.
Absolutely.
And that's why I was mentioning earlier.
But the sign company should be able to tell them the square inches, the
Yeah.
material, the whatever, I mean.
And I just need that
paying
in
them
my
to do that
hand.
work. They should be able to take a phone call and say, how big is my sign? How many square inches? What's the material?
Yeah, but hearing it, I guess, like if they called and said to me over the phone that this is all the dimensions of it, I wouldn't be able to approve it because I need hard copy evidence of
Need a
the
visual.
drawings, the
Yeah.
showing, like
Right.
Mr. Haley
Yeah.
said, an easy rendering of it.
Right.
Right. absolutely.
I don't think that's,
And that's what a lot of these boxes on the backside of the COA discusses, you know, colored elevations, scale drawing. I mean, physical samples, which is showing me this is what's gonna be on here. It's the same for if anybody's building a new building downtown. You're not just gonna send me a picture and post a new building on it. I need like scale drawings, things along those lines. So, I mean, it goes further than just the COA applications as well. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be able to, you know, review a site plan for a brand new development going in or a subdivision if they didn't have their
Right.
plans in front of me.
Right,
you know?
absolutely.
right.
So
Yeah,
that's
this
all.
just isn't a COA issue. It's, I mean, everything outside. I mean, just basic inspections and applications that businesses do, regardless if they're in a historic district or outside of it, they're gonna have to do these things. So,
Yeah.
and most of the people coming in here asking for a sign permit, they're gonna put the sign up regardless if they get the grant. I mean, that's because that's what they're doing. They're just trying to supplement it.
Yeah, and I don't know
They
how
can
to
put
make
the
it.
Sign up only if it meets within the criteria, right?
Well, yeah, of
So we
course.
still would
But if
have
it-
to
So
have.
I think what he was
They
saying
say-
was.
Yeah, what I'm saying is,
If
they're-
they
I'm just saying
can't-
that the business, when they come in here for the facade grant, they're just trying to supplement the sign. They're gonna put the sign up if they're a new business.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna put my sign up if y'all don't give me money for my business.
As long as it's within the criteria.
Well, it has,
Have to
it
approve.
has to be.
regardless. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
he's
yeah.
just discussing.
I
that.
just don't see anywhere, and you guys could maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't see anywhere where we could shortcut or
No.
make
No.
any changes. It's very simple. And we don't want people to get too relaxed when filling out applications and making them know this is a very important piece of information that will be filed with our city, and whether or not if Cameron is there to reference it, the next person that picks up this paper need to know exactly what happened, what was applied for, and what went on. So we just need to be, I think both applications are fine. If someone wants to make a motion that we not make any changes at this time, and
I don't even think you need to do that. We can just kind of keep on rolling. So
Yeah.
there ain't
Keep
no
on
changes
rolling.
being made.
okay, well, we just keep on rolling. So we have, if there are no other changes or discussion? None? Okay, so now, if there are not any other changes, then we'll halt the discussion and move on to the next item, which will be, we will now hear updates from the staff. Mr. Cameron,
I do not have anything.
no updates. We will now hear updates from the staff from the city council, from Councilman Parsons. Has nothing. Does any commission member have any additional comments? Got it?
I'll try to get you that estimate by Friday.
Thank you.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, and if there are no other updates, then I guess we'll see each other On the 13th.
13th.
Third.
What?
January
No,
3rd.
at the party,
What party?
Oh, the luncheon.
the luncheon,
Oh,
Oh,
11
Don't-
o'clock.
don't forget to adjourn.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, it's the 13th, right? Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, guys.